Do you ever get that feeling in your gut, that tiny whisper that tells you something is off, but you ignore it? You push it aside because you want to believe the best in people. You want to see kindness, loyalty, and honesty. But then, bam, you find yourself blindsided, betrayed, or manipulated, and you think, how did I not see this coming? The truth is, bad people don't walk around with warning labels. They don't announce themselves. They wear masks. They pretend, and before you know it, you're caught in their web. Whether it's a toxic friend, a lying coworker, or someone who only comes around when they need something. But here's the good news. You can learn to recognize them. You can protect yourself. And it all starts with paying attention to the signs, the little things they do, the words they say, the way they make you feel, because fake people leave clues. And today, I'm going to give you the 7 signals that will help you open your eyes, trust your instincts, and never be fooled again. Now let's get real about this. Here's what you need to watch for. You ever notice how some people only seem to pop up when they need something? They're nowhere to be found when you're struggling, but the moment they need a favor, a shoulder to cry on, or someone to bail them out of a mess they created, suddenly they're your best friend. They text, they call, they act like they care, but the second you're the one in need, silence, no response, no support, nothing. And here's the dangerous part. You might not even realize it at first. Because these people, they're good. They know exactly how to make you feel special when it benefits them. They know the right words to say. They know how to manipulate emotions. And because you're a good person, you want to believe them. You want to help. You want to be there for them because that's just who you are. But what you don't see until it's two-way street is that this isn't a two-way street. It's a one-way transaction. And you're just a resource to them, a pit stop, a convenience. Think about the last time you were in a tough spot. Who showed up for you? Who checked in? Who actually cared? Not because they needed something, but because they genuinely value you. Now, think about those people who seem to only remember you exist when they need a ride, a loan, a favor, an introduction, or a way out of their own mess. The ones who never ask how you're doing unless it's a lead-in to what they need. The ones who guilt trip you when you say no. The ones who make it seem like you're the bad guy for having boundaries. That's not friendship. That's not loyalty. That's use. And the hard truth is, some people aren't in your life because they care about you. They're there because they care about what you can do for them. And it doesn't always look obvious. Sometimes they disguise it as flattery. They tell you how amazing you are, how much they appreciate you, how grateful they are. But ask yourself this. When was the last time they did something for you without expecting anything in return? When was the last time they supported you? Because relationships, friendships, family bonds, partnerships shouldn't feel like transactions. They should feel balanced. And here's where people get stuck. They think, well, maybe I'm being too harsh. Maybe they really do care. They're just bad at showing it. Maybe. But here's what you need to understand. Real friends, real partners, real people who care, they don't just show up when it's convenient for them. They show up when it matters. They don't disappear when you're struggling. They don't only text when they need something. And they sure as hell don't make you feel guilty for having limits. So how do you handle these people? First, recognize the pattern. Stop making excuses for them. Stop pretending it's a coincidence that they only call when they need something. Start seeing it for what it is. And second, set boundaries. That doesn't mean you have to cut them off completely, unless you want to. It just means you stop being available on their terms. It means you stop overgiving. It means you pay attention to who is showing up for you and who is just showing up for themselves. Because here's the thing, when you finally start seeing people for who they are instead of who you want them to be, everything changes. You stop wasting your energy on the wrong people, you stop feeling drained, you stop feeling used, and most importantly, you start making room for the right people. The ones who actually care, the ones who don't keep score, the ones who don't just show up when they need you, but when you need them. You ever meet someone who seems really nice to your face, but the moment you walk away, they've got something to say about you? Or maybe they're always telling you the latest gossip, who's failing, who's cheating, who's struggling, like it's their job to keep tabs on other people's lives. Here's what you need to understand. If someone is constantly talking about others behind their backs, you can bet they're doing the same thing to you. It doesn't matter how close you think you are to them. It doesn't matter if they swear up and down that they'd never do that to you. The truth is, people who gossip, manipulate, and throw others under the bus don't suddenly change just because they like you. And let's be real. Sometimes it doesn't even start as gossip. It starts as concern. They act like they're just worried about someone. They say things like, I hate to say this, but, or I probably shouldn't tell you, but. And before you know it, they're spilling someone else's personal business. And you listen because, well, you think it doesn't affect you, but guess what? It does. Because when someone habitually talks about others, it reveals something much deeper about their character. It tells you they thrive on drama. It tells you they get a sense of power from having inside information. It tells you they have no loyalty. Because if they're betraying someone else's trust, they'll betray yours too. And here's where it gets dangerous. These people aren't always obvious. Some of them are really good at disguising their negativity as connection. They make you feel like you're on the inside, like you're part of some exclusive circle of trust. They say things like, I'm only telling you this because I trust you. But that's a lie. They're not telling you because they trust you. They're telling you because they enjoy the power of spreading information. And if you're not careful, you become part of their game without even realizing it. Ever notice how gossipers always have so much to say about other people's mistakes, but they never seem to acknowledge their own? That's because they use gossip as a smokescreen. Instead of dealing with their own flaws, they focus on other people's failures. Instead of taking responsibility for their own problems, they deflect by stirring up drama about someone else. It's a distraction, a way to keep the attention off themselves. And the more you engage with them, the more you get pulled into their negativity. So how do you handle these people? First, pay attention. The next time someone starts talking about someone who is in the room, ask yourself, why are they telling me this? Is it out of genuine concern, or are they just enjoying the gossip? Second, watch how they react when you shut it down. Try this. Next time they start trash talking someone, say something positive about that person instead. See what happens. If they get uncomfortable, change the subject or try to steer you back into negativity, you know exactly who they are. And finally, protect yourself. The less you engage, the safer you are. Because here's what happens when you refuse to play the gossip game. These people start to see you differently. They realize you're not an easy target. They realize they can't pull you into their drama. And eventually, they move on to someone else. Because at the end of the day, real friendships, real connections, real relationships are built on trust, not trash talk. They're built on lifting people up, not tearing them down. And if someone in your life can't have a conversation without throwing someone under the bus, if their favorite pastime is discussing other people's failures, if they make you feel like you always have to watch your back, that's not a friend. That's not someone you want in your circle. That's someone who will smile in your face today and tear you down tomorrow. And the sooner you recognize it, the sooner you can distance yourself from the drama and surround yourself with people who actually respect you. You ever notice how some people just never take responsibility for anything? No matter what happens, it's never their fault. It's always someone else who messed up, someone else who caused the problem, someone else who should be blamed. They have an excuse for everything, and the worst part, they actually believe it. Maybe you've seen this before, someone who constantly plays the victim, twisting every situation to make themselves look innocent. It doesn't matter if they made the mistake, if they were the one who hurt someone. If they were completely in the wrong, they'll find a way to shift the blame. They'll twist the story. They'll make you question reality. And if you dare call them out, get ready, because suddenly you're the bad guy. These people are exhausting. They drain your energy. They make everything more complicated, and they never grow. Why? Because growth requires accountability. It requires looking in the mirror and saying, that was on me. I need to do better. And these people, they refuse to do that because admitting fault to them feels like weakness. And so they run from it. They rewrite reality. And if you're not careful, they'll drag you into their mess. Ever worked with someone like this? A coworker who screws up a project and then blames you for not reminding them? A boss who makes a bad decision but pins it on the team? Or maybe you've dealt with this in your personal life. A friend who constantly causes drama but somehow convinces everyone that they're the real victim. A partner who refuses to apologize even when they've hurt you and instead turns it around to make you feel guilty. A family member who refuses to acknowledge the damage they've done and instead acts like they're the one who's been wronged. It's a pattern, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. These people do three things over and over again. One, they deflect. The moment you bring up something they did wrong, they change the subject. Suddenly we're not talking about their mistake anymore. We're talking about your tone or your past mistakes or something completely unrelated. Anything to avoid accountability. Two, they play the victim. They will make you feel guilty for even bringing it up. They'll turn on the waterworks. They'll act like you're being unfair. They'll say things like, I can't believe you'd think that of me. Or, after everything I've done for you, suddenly you're the one apologizing and they're off the hook. Three, they rewrite history. They'll deny things they said, downplay things they did, and make you question your own memory. And if you're not careful, you'll start wondering if maybe you are being too harsh. Maybe you did misunderstand, but trust yourself. If something feels off, it probably is. So what do you do when you're dealing with someone like this? First, stop expecting them to change. People like this don't wake up one day and suddenly decide to take accountability. They've spent years perfecting the art of blame shifting. If you keep hoping for an apology, if you keep waiting for them to own up to their mistakes, you'll be waiting forever. Second, protect your energy. These people thrive on making others feel guilty. The moment you start questioning yourself, they've won. Don't let them manipulate you. Stand firm in what you know. Trust your gut. If you saw what happened, if you heard what they said, if you felt the hurt they caused, believe yourself. And finally, distance yourself when you can. Because here's the thing, life is hard enough without carrying the weight of someone else's irresponsibility. You deserve people in your life who can say, yeah, that was on me, I messed up, I'll do better. You deserve honesty. You deserve accountability. You deserve real relationships. So if you find yourself constantly being blamed for things that aren't your fault, constantly having to clean up someone else's mess, constantly questioning whether you're the problem, take a step back, because the real problem might just be the person who refuses to take responsibility. You ever have a conversation with someone and walk away feeling completely drained? Like they didn't just take your time, they took your energy, your peace, and maybe even your happiness. At first, you don't even realize what's happening. You tell yourself, maybe they're just going through a rough time. Maybe they just need someone to listen. But then you start to notice a pattern. Every conversation is about them, their problems, their drama, their struggles. And it's not just once in a while, it's every time. You could be having the best day, feeling great, and the moment they come around, suddenly there's a dark cloud over everything. They suck the life out of the room. They bring negativity, complaints, and problems, but never solutions. And the worst part, they never ask how you are. They never check in on you. These people are emotional vampires. They don't just drain your time. They drain your mental and emotional energy. And the scariest thing, you don't always see it happening until it's too late. It starts small. Maybe they vent about work. Maybe they complain about their relationships. Maybe they just seem to always have bad luck. And because you're a kind person, you listen, you care, you want to help. But as time goes on, you realize something. They don't actually want help. They don't want advice. They don't want solutions. They just want to dump their negativity onto you so they don't have to carry it alone. And little by little, without even realizing it, you become their emotional dumping ground. Ever notice how, after talking to certain people, you feel worse than before? You feel tired, frustrated, even anxious. That's not a coincidence. Your energy is being drained because you're constantly carrying their baggage. And here's where it gets dangerous. If you're not careful, their negativity can start to affect your mindset. You start seeing the world through their lens. You start expecting problems, looking for drama, feeling more negative yourself. And don't get it twisted, these people aren't just going through a rough patch. This is who they are. They thrive on negativity. They feed off attention. They don't want to change because being the victim, being the one who always has something to complain about, gives them a sense of importance. And you become the person who fuels it. So what do? First, recognize the signs. If someone constantly drains you, if you leave conversations feeling worse instead of better, that's a red flag. If they only reach out when they need to vent but never to support you, pay attention. And if you find yourself exhausted after every interaction, ask yourself why you're still allowing it. Second, set boundaries. You don't have to cut them off completely unless you want to, but you do need to protect your energy. Stop answering every call. Stop being available for every vent session. Stop giving advice they'll never take. And if they push back, that's your proof that they weren't looking for real connection in the first place. They were looking for a dumping ground. And finally, surround yourself with people who give energy, not just take it. The people who uplift you, who make you feel good, who pour into you instead of constantly taking. Because at the end of the day, you can't keep filling up someone else's cup if yours is always empty. Your energy is precious. Protect it. Because if you don't, no one else will. You ever meet someone who seems too nice, too charming, too perfect, right from the start, like they've known you for years even though you just met? They shower you with compliments, go out of their way to make you feel special, and tell you exactly what you want to hear. It feels good, doesn't it? At first you think, wow, this person is amazing. They really get me. They're so kind, so thoughtful. You might even feel lucky to have them in your life. But then slowly things start to feel off. Maybe they get close to you too fast. Maybe they seem too eager to be your friend, your partner, your confidant. Maybe you start to feel like something isn't quite right, but you can't put your finger on it. That's because this kind of over-the-top charm isn't real. It's a tactic. And if you're not careful, it can blind you to who they really are. These people don't build relationships the natural way, through time, trust, and shared experiences. No, they fast-track the process. They overwhelm you with kindness, attention, and flattery because they want to lower your guard. They want to make you feel safe so you don't question their intentions. And before you know it, you're hooked. Ever heard of love bombing? It's when someone floods you with affection at the beginning of a relationship, romantic or otherwise. They make grand promises, say all the right things, and act like they're your soulmate. But it's not real love. It's control. Because once they have you emotionally invested, things start to shift. The charm fades, the kindness disappears, and suddenly you're dealing with someone who is nothing like the person you first met. This doesn't just happen in romantic relationships. It happens with fake friends, manipulative coworkers, and even toxic family members. They use charm as a mask, a distraction. They want you to feel so good in their presence that you ignore the warning signs. And by the time you realize the truth, you're already caught up in their web. But here's the thing. Real connection doesn't work that way. Real friendships, real relationships, real trust take time to build. They don't need to be rushed. They don't require someone to convince you of how amazing they are. If someone is truly good for you, their actions will prove it over time. So, how do you spot this kind of fake charm before it's too late? First, pay attention to the speed of the relationship. Are they moving too fast? Are they trying to get too close too soon? Are they making big promises before they've even truly gotten to know you? That's a red flag. Second, watch how they react when you set boundaries. A truly good person will respect your space, your time, and your need to move at your own pace. But someone who is using charm as manipulation, they'll push. They'll make you feel guilty. They'll act hurt or offended. That's because they don't actually care about you, they care about control. And third, trust your gut. If something feels too good to be true, it probably is. If you feel off around someone, even if you don't know why, listen to that feeling. Your intuition picks up on things your brain hasn't caught up to yet. Because here's the truth. Real people don't need to convince you of their goodness. They just are. And once you learn to recognize the difference, you'll never fall for fake charm again.